Good afternoon, live from Toronto on the GBKM network. This is the Chat Up Show, the show where we chat about any and everything to do with popular culture. I'm your host, Elizabeth Aloidi, and I hope that you are ready to chat it up with me today. Now, as always, you can keep up with the GBKM network in various ways. You can now listen and watch live on our website at www.gbkm.fm or www.gbkm.tv. As always, you can listen, like, watch, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff on our YouTube and Facebook at GBKM TV. You can follow us on Twitter at GBKM_FM and Instagram at GBKM_FM. Now, welcome back. It's another week of the Chat Up Show. We're slowly falling into fall, if you will. And I'm so glad that you could join me again this week. Now, there's a lot that's gone on in the world of pop culture this week alone. So let's run some of that down, just to catch us up a little bit, because it's been a while since we've had real pop culture content, right? Now, artist Adele, was called out for supposed cultural appropriation for her Instagram post about missing London's Notting Hill Carnival that would have taken place this past bank holiday weekend, if not for COVID-19. Now, this sense of missing Carnival is pretty normal for someone who's grown up in London, where it takes place, but it was what she was wearing that really had a lot of people talking. Now, the star donned a Jamaican flag bikini along with the Afrocentric Bantu knots as her hairdo. And a lot of people have things to say about that. Like, why is she wearing the Jamaican flag bikini? Why is her hair in Bantu knots? Who put the Bantu knots in her hair? Why is she, quote unquote, culturally appropriating carnival culture? But others also came to her defense to say that this is just something normal that a lot of people would wear if they were attending carnival, and this is normal for a Londoner like her to want to participate in these festivities. Now, that's just open for debate. And in some other pop culture news, we had another one of our virtual award shows. This was the big VMAs that happened this past weekend, hosted by Kiki Palmer. We had a lot of performances, one by Miley Cyrus, who swung from a disco ball and not a wrecking ball this time, for those of you who remember. We also had performances from Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande, from Doja Cat, even Black Eyed Peas had a performance, made their own appearance, if you will. Just to name a few of the performances that were going on. Now, I'm not gonna lie, these viral, virtual, whatever you wanna call them, award shows have kind of started growing on me, because there's a sense of community in the fact that we're all just sitting at home and not dressed to the nines at these beautiful award shows. We're all just chilling at home in our comfortable clothes, as we have been doing for the last 6 months, has it been now? But yeah, there's something that feels really good about just seeing other people in their screens during these virtual award shows, watching as I am at home. And that makes me think, are we gonna continue this? Is this a trend that's gonna stay? And I wonder what the Oscars are gonna be like. Could you imagine a virtual Oscars? Would everyone still wear their gowns, or would everyone just come dressed in their chic loungewear that's, taken over the fashion world since COVID? I wonder what that's like. We shall see. We'll see if these virtual award shows keep up in the future. Now, just to switch some gears to something that's a little more somber, and that is the news of passing of the actor Chadwick Boseman. Now, it was a shock that this news came, as nobody really knew of his health conditions or his diagnosis while he was playing such amazing and notable roles. Nobody really knew what he was battling with. But what it reminded us of was his legacy, his larger legacy of what he was able to do with his art while he was still here, how many lives he touched with his art while he was still here, and how many lives he will touch even past his passing. Also was a lesson in compassion, as most people did not know that Chadwick Boseman was battling stage 4 cancer at the start of this year, stage 4 colon cancer. And there was a video that he posted earlier this year on social media that had a lot of people talking about what was going on with Chadwick Boseman, who had played the notable role of Black Panther in 2018. There was a stark difference in his face and his body and his physique. And it had a lot of people talking about it out of concern, but also those who made it into a joke. And now hearing of his passing, Some people have really felt regret and apologetic for how they passed judgments on him during that time, not knowing what was really going on. And another thing that this has taught and has also reminded us is this isn't the first celebrity death that's happened in 2020 that really shocked a lot of people. Last into July, Naya Rivera, who was the Glee star, passed away after drowning in a lake, first saving her son. And that shocked everyone, had a lot of people feeling, feelings of nostalgia. I mean, I was one of the people who grew up watching and seeing Naya perform on Glee. And then now the passing of Chadwick Boseman, which was just as shocking and surprising. It's really reminding us that life is short. And in the words of Boseman from his 2018 Howard commencement speech, quote, "Look down over what you conquered and appreciate what God has brought you through." Now, his legacy is something that we're speaking of now and speaking of more, of course. But as we know, Boseman passed on Friday night due to complications from battling stage 4 colon cancer at the age of 43. And in an Instagram post by his team, it was confirmed that Boseman had actually been diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016 and over the years had progressed to stage 4. For 4 years, Chadwick Boseman still managed to create magic on the screen and inspire millions off the screen. And how he was able to do that, the strength that came from within, is unmatched. That in itself speaks about the man, or shall I say the king, that was Chadwick Boseman. He has left a lasting legacy that since the news of his passing has had a lot of us really sharing countless memories that we have, being introduced to his artistry. We're hearing tributes from those who have worked with him as co-stars, as co-workers, people who knew him in any capacity just from knowing him in the industry or knowing him before. We're getting to know a little bit more about the man behind these characters, behind these roles. And honestly, this has been this one stings just a little bit, And I think it was what he represented, not only as T'Challa or the Black Panther, but just as who he was. I mean, even in hearing him speak at various award shows and during the commencement speech, what he represents was so much hope and inspiration for the new generation. He was coming up off the shoulders of those before him, and to see the legacy and see what he's lived up to, and to essentially get a front row seat viewing of it. Amazing. Now, Chadwick Boseman changed so many lives with his roles, but of course, his most notable role really made history. As the first Black superhero, Chadwick Boseman quickly became the symbol of royalty and power, not only in the Black community, but the world over. Now, when Black Panther came out, we had to show up and show out for our community, for our people, for our legacy. And we sure did. We had people who were donning Afrocentric outfits to the cinemas, had people who had homemade costumes of various Black Panther characters coming to the cinemas, had kids who could see themselves on the big screen in roles that they never could have imagined. I mean, a Black superhero, that was something new. We also had people who had full-out buffets in the cinema, but we're not going to talk about that. But I did see y'all. I saw y'all. Y'all really made it a party in those cinemas when Black Panther premiered. And you know what? Shout out to all of you for coming out and supporting something that really meant a lot to a lot of people. Now, it didn't only break or make history because it was the story of the first Black superhero, but also in its opening weekend, it broke box office records, holding the record for the biggest 3-day opening for February, which we also know is Black History Month. And the movie raked in $426.6 million globally in its opening week internationally. So this was not just a regular movie premiere for the world. I mean, amongst comic book fans, it was a long-awaited progression for the Marvel Universe. And for the Black community across the globe, it was the representation of self on a grand scale. Like, we saw whole different shades, different styles, different just representations of Blackness in a cinema on a global scale. Like, this wasn't regular, okay? And an action movie, like, who would have thought that it would have grossed that much? Who would have thought it would have made this big of a splash? We could have imagined it, but to see it actually happen and to live through it, I know Me, myself, when I went into the cinema, I was in a random cinema in Whitby watching it when it first, I think the second week it opened in theaters in February 2018. And I remember just looking around and seeing the room just full of melanin and seeing the screen just full of melanin and just feeling a sense of pride, like, yes, we are artists and we can create something that unites the world and it isn't just for the Black community, but it's for everyone. Everyone that loves action movies and superhero movies, of course, but it was for everyone. Now, another history-making moment for what is essentially just a superhero movie was the Oscars. The other Marvel Studio films had been nominated, but Black Panther was the first to win not one, but 3 Oscars in 2019. And that in itself, I mean, that was around the time that we were discussing how diverse Oscar nominations were. And to see that and to experience that, that just showed that maybe we were making a shift in the right direction where we will start seeing more diverse stories at play and getting the recognition that they deserve. The next year we saw Parasite come in and sweep in. So that was maybe the turning point, the corner that we needed to turn through to get to where we want to see more representation, more diversity on our screens. From the graphics to the costumes and the soundtrack, the movie was not just appreciated culturally, but cinematically. And that in itself is such a huge legacy for everyone that was part of it. But Boseman, Chadwick Boseman had so much more influence in the film's success than just playing the role of T'Challa in the Black Panther as the king of Wakanda. In fact, it goes beyond just his acting chops. In his tribute to Boseman, director Ryan Coogler revealed just how influential Boseman was. There's a line that Michael B. Jordan's character, Eric Killmonger, says, quote, "Bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from ships because they knew death was better than bondage." And according to Coogler, that line was directly inspired by Boseman's suggestion. Writing in his tribute, Coogler also stated that in early drafts of the script, Eric Killmonger's character would ask T'Challa to be buried in Wakanda. But Coogler said that Chadwick challenged that and asked, what if Killmonger asked to be buried somewhere else? Coogler also said that he also advocated for his character to speak with an African accent so that he could present T'Challa to audiences as an African king whose dialect had not been conquered by the West. Just little tidbits of what Chadwick Boseman added to his role as T'Challa to really make it his own and to make it so memorable and notable and inspiring, if you will. Coogler also revealed that Boseman learned Xhosa in a day. Let me just say that again. Coogler revealed that Boseman learned a whole new language in one day for his lines, which then became the official language of Wakanda. Because Boseman took it upon himself to learn this language for authenticity reasons. And who would have ever known? It seems so natural. But that was a choice that he made. Now, these are just a few examples of Boseman's influence in just one of the movies he made in the last 4 years. And since his diagnosis, Chadwick Boseman has played some historical figures. He starred as Thurgood Marshall in Marshall. Thurgood Marshall was the first Black American justice, and he starred in this role in 2017, a year after his initial diagnosis, which he was also co-producer on, by the way. So he wasn't just starring in it, he was co-producing too, all while still getting surgeries and treatments for his colon cancer. He did 4 Avenger movies as T'Challa or the Black Panther. He produced and starred in 21 Bridges in 2019. He starred in Da 5 Bloods, which was directed by Academy Award-winning director Spike Lee, who actually, in a comment under his tribute post to Boseman, revealed he had no idea of Boseman's diagnosis all while they were on set together for 5 Bloods. So he really kept this a secret from almost everyone except his loved ones, which just goes to show and to speak to just how respected he is in the industry, because a lot of people were talking about Chadwick Boseman before Black Panther, after Black Panther, talking about how his work is so inspiring, talking about him being such an amazing artist, so dedicated to what he was doing, dedicated to his craft, dedicated to the work he put out there. Sometimes you just need to let that sink in, that his work really did speak for him, and it will continue to speak for him, even past his death. Hearing of this news, of course, had folks reminiscing on his work and contributions to his community. And there was so much to be said, but I think that this one video might sum up exactly how a lot of people felt about our king of Wakanda, if you will, Chadwick Boseman. Take a look.
Take a step on this, Mark, and whenever you're ready, go ahead and tell Chadwick what he and the movie mean to you.
Darren here, just want to say thank you so much for making Black Panther. I can't express how much it means to me and the community and my family. Thank you from the very bottom of my heart for all that you've done, for really being a hero that we really need in a time like this. Thank you so much.
Darren, I think there's something wrong with your microphone.
My king.
Oh, my God.
I actually saw it 4 times. I do have a life, but I saw it 4 times. I saw it once with my girlfriend. Also, I want to thank you for having your suit on for most of the movie, because when your chest was out, she was getting a little excited, and I felt insecure, so thank you for that. And it means a lot to see a movie that's not like a black movie, but it's just a great American superhero movie with, you know, people that look like me, so thank you.
Yo.
Okay. What's going on, bro? I'm glad that you got your muscles covered again. I'm glad that you got your muscles covered, because if you would have been all brolic and stuff, it would have been weird, because my girl would have seen it and be like, why did you get his number? So I'm glad.
Well, for me, as the mother of a young son, my son's childhood has been defined by Barack Obama and now Black Panther, so thank you.
Hey, that's way too much praise. Barack Obama.
No.
You're a gorgeous family.
That is unexpected.
Gorgeous for the
Amazing. Thank you. Wow, what a surprise.
As a creator, as an entrepreneur of color, just seeing this movie made me realize that our stories need to be told. There's so many of us out here who are trying to create great things, and I was just so inspired as someone who wants to make movies one day and wants to inspire people that art can really change the world.
What type of movies do you want to do? What type of movies?
I didn't say that.
My name's Kwabanabo Ofe. I absolutely loved this movie. You guys killed it. But on a personal note, my father is African. He's from Ghana. He's a scientist. My mother, my sisters, brilliant African-American women. So basically everything that represents me was honored in this movie. I've seen the movie twice in theaters already and once on bootleg. It was incredible. Thank you.
Wait, you gonna bootleg my movie? Come on, Kwabanabo Ofe.
And you got my whole name right.
I just wanted to thank you for making Black Panther for the kids. Representation is very important. It gives the kids, like, hope, and it gives them the confidence to say things like, hey, are you Killmonger's mama? On the street when I'm going to work. I appreciate that. I thought I had a stylish haircut. You also got me to see an action movie. Didn't see that happening.
Chalet was sharp.
Oh, no.
Hello! You should work in show business. That was...
Now what am I supposed to do?
Now you're beloved. You're beloved by everybody.
I don't know if that... Oh, hey, Jimmy, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
That's good.
I think that video really speaks to the spirit of the man that Chadwick Boseman was. Even while battling cancer and going through all of that, he still managed to put a smile on his fans' faces. Now, that video is from a segment of Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show that really allowed some fans to come in and talk about what Black Panther meant to them and what Chadwick's representation on screen meant to them. And that video really just sums up how a lot of us felt watching him portray Black Panther, King T'Challa, on the big screen. And it really does speak to why representation is important, especially with the mother and the son who said that now her son has Obama and now Chadwick Boseman to look up to as inspirations in this world. The younger generation need to see themselves represented in different ways, to see that there are different stories to be told in different ways as well, with different people, different voices. Representation really does matter. Now that did bring some tears to my eye. I had to hold them back real quick. But honestly, that video I think really just sums it up. And for him to just be so lively and so welcoming and so open as well, I think it really just speaks to the legacy that he's leaving behind. Now, nobody really knew through all of that what he was going through and what he was dealing with. And I say that to say that a few months ago, Boseman had actually posted a video on his Instagram, and this happened in April, to announce the launch of Thomas Tull's hashtag Operation 42, which was a donation of $4.2 million in personal protective equipment, PPE, to hospitals that service the African American communities who had been hit the hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic, or who have been actually hit the hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. And instead of focusing on the message he was sharing about the importance of staying safe and staying home as much as we can and helping out those we can, a lot of people were focusing on his appearance in the video. And he did appear rather frail, was not the same buffed out Wakandan warrior we had seen in Black Panther, or we were used to seeing. And that led to a lot of people, of course, taking the conversation to social media, to express their concern for what's going on and how he's feeling and if he's healthy. But, you know, in social media fashion, it was also an opportunity for a lot of people to make some jokes. And that really brought up the conversation now, knowing what we do know about his condition and what he was dealing with at the time, knowing that that was just about 4 months before his death. A lot of people are expressing their regret for joking about how he looked. Now, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about why compassion is really important, especially when we don't know what's going on with others. Stay tuned.
Do you know who you are? What is your name?
Sometimes you wonder why and wonder how. Don't be alarmed, just stay calm, cause even if you choose or not to.
My child, recite the words of this ancient mythology. The wisdom I disperse in this verse, no apology. Memorize to keep you from evil theology. For you, the dark Kahiyah denied your equality. See, for generations we perpetrated psychology. Divide and conquer each other, really lynch policy. You cannot build each other up, how will you build economy?
Hello and welcome back to the Chat Up Show. I'm your host, Elizabeth Eloidy, and today we are remembering the legacy of Chadwick Boseman. We're remembering the man behind the notable role, Black Panther or King T'Challa. We're just remembering what he meant to a lot of people and knowing what he was going through while he gave us some of his best work. And sometimes people don't always realize what it means when someone's here with them and how important it is to show compassion and to also let them know just how important they are to you. And of course, you know, he did get his accolades, but who knows if they were enough? Who knows if we've ever showed him just how important he was to our community? Now, before we went on a break, we were talking about Boseman's one of his last appearances of himself on his social media page, where he appeared rather frail and was not looking the same way he had looked as we saw him in these notable roles. And of course, a lot of people had things to say on social media. A lot of people had concern, but there were also a lot who thought that it was a time to make some jokes and make light of his appearance. And one of those people was social media star and influencer Jess Hilarious, who hosts a show called Jess the Mess, where she discusses topics in pop culture, or as she puts it, talks about people, essentially. And when Chadwick had first posted this video, she was one of the many influencers or social media personalities to start talking about why he looked the way he did and was making some jokes that now in hindsight may seem a little disrespectful, just knowing what we know now. But back then, no one really knew he was battling cancer. No one knew what was going on with him. Everyone thought that he was losing weight for a role, not knowing that he was really fighting for his life. Now, since then, though she is a comedian, a lot of people have been saying that this is where, again, the conversation of the line between disrespect and comedy start to get a little blurred, because you don't know, like, how far is that line? How far can you really push that envelope when you're discussing other people as a comedian? You know, you've heard it said and again, so many comedians have been under fire, had a lot of backlash for jokes that they've put out, and they've always hidden behind, well, this is comedy, take it or leave it. But she felt that this was a time that she needed to own that she was wrong in talking about his appearance, now knowing that what he was dealing with. And she did pay tributes to Boseman by posting on her social media. And in a comment to a fan, says that she plans on actually retiring the whole show altogether, Just the Mess, because she doesn't feel, and I quote, doesn't want to talk about people, continuing that you just never know what somebody is going through, and I'm so sorry. That this moment really was a wake-up call for her to realize that this isn't what she wants to continue doing in her career, talking about other people without knowing the full story. And it's true. We never really know the full story. Even if someone is posting their life on social media, that's only what they want us to see. We're not getting the full picture. So for us to sit there and make judgments and make jokes about what we are seeing really has you thinking. You don't know what everyone's going through. You don't know if that might be the one thing that pushes them over the edge. Now, Boseman did end up deleting that post from his social media page after a lot of people had been making comments about his appearance. And that might speak to the fact that he wanted to keep it hidden. He didn't want to let everyone know. I mean, people who worked with him didn't even know he was battling cancer. So maybe that was the reason he deleted it, or he just didn't want that extra attention on himself, and instead to focus on the cause that he was putting out, using his platform to put out to help those who were on the front lines working during this pandemic. Now, she has since deleted that post of her discussing Boseman's appearance. And who knows if she will continue with her show, Just the Mess. Who knows what the future will hold. But this is just an example of one person who is publicly speaking out against what they have said in the past and has known to now is time that compassion is really necessary. I mean, there's so many people who are going through a lot. And I say this weekly on this show, especially during this pandemic, that there's a lot of people who are going through a lot across the world, and you never really know what someone is going through. Now, another example of someone who expressed regret for how they had too soon judged Boseman and how he was essentially living his life, if you will, was actor Clark Peters, who starred with Boseman in The Five Bloods. He revealed that he was apologetic for the way he had judged Boseman on set. In a recent interview with Good Morning Britain, Peters revealed that he had a conversation with his wife, who had asked him how Boseman was, because Peters was so excited to be working with him. And Peters recalled describing him as precious, because he had seen that Chadman was surrounded by people who he quoted was fawning over him. Peters is quoted saying that he's got a Chinese practitioner who is massaging his back when he walks off set. He's got a makeup lady who is massaging his feet. His girlfriend, or his wife now, is there holding his hand. And I'm thinking maybe the Black Panther thing went to his head, Peters said in his interview. As he was relaying this and recalling and talking about this moment in time that he spent with Chadwick, he expressed his regret for thinking those thoughts. And as he reflects that those people, quote, fawning over him, were just looking out for him, just looking out for Chadwick's health and best interest, making sure that he was well taken care of so that he could deal with the conditions of filming. Conditions which Clark described as working in 104-degree Fahrenheit weather, running with equipment up to 40 pounds on our backs. That young man is where he trails off as he begins to shed a few tears for Boseman. Just to think about what he was doing. He was like, I know for a fact I am not going to be out in 104-degree Fahrenheit weather with 40 pounds on my back running around, even if I have little sniffles. So the strength of someone who is battling colon cancer, which is known as one of the aggressive forms of cancer, and still managed to put that aside and do the work, do what, I mean, as we could say, was paid to do, but he didn't have to. He could have turned down those roles. But he did it. And for that, now he is forever etched in our memories, forever in history, and forever on the screen. But that strength alone to just do that. Now, this was a very emotional moment for Peters, and it was an emotional moment even to just watch it happen and watch him realize and say, like, wow, you really do not know what someone is going through, and that he apologizes for judging Chadwick, and that he got to know him even more on set, knowing that as he was a great man, that he worked very hard. And though a lot of folks were feeling sorry, you can tell that he was respected so highly by his coworkers, even just by the way they speak of him while he was alive, and especially in their tributes to him. Those tributes of those he had worked with on Black Panther really, really hit home for a lot of Boseman's fans, myself included. Honestly, they were what really, really tugged at my heartstrings and made me shed a few tears. Now, the great Angela Bassett wrote about how their paths were meant to cross and how they were connected since before she even realized, recalling that when Boseman was assigned to be her student escort when Bassett was receiving her honorary degree from Howard University, which was also Boseman's alma mater, the year that he was graduating, she didn't even realize that he had been the student escort until he whispered in her ear and let her know at a Black Panther premiere party. A whole 18 years after that, they got to work as mother and son on the screen and in other capacities through the industry. But just goes to show that when there is a plan and a purpose for your life, nothing can take that away. Look at that, 18 years later, from escorting her as the commencement speech giver and an honorary degree receiver, to working with her on one of the most notable, one of the most watched, one of the most talked about superhero films of at least my life. Yeah, I'll say it, my life, my generation, if you will. She also described him as a beautiful spirit, consummate artist, and soulful brother. I think those are some great words to describe someone as. Now, Michael B. Jordan also shared a tribute for the late star with a written piece titled, "I Wish We Had More Time." This was the one that really, really hit home. That they had known each other for so long, and that Michael B. Jordan, as he said, had looked up to him, quoting, "Whether you've known it or not, I've been watching, learning, and constantly motivated by your greatness." They too worked together on Black Panther, Jordan playing Killmonger. Jordan also called him a hero, saying he was, quote, "my big brother, but I never fully got a chance to tell you or to truly give you your flowers while you were here." That really hits home. Because you never really know, and you never think about that. You know, we all know that death is inevitable. We all know that it's coming. It's at some point we're all gonna see it, we're all gonna meet it. But it really takes moments like this for us to remember just how short life is. How important it is to tell those that we love them while they're still here, for them to know how respected and appreciated they are while they're still here. Now, Jordan ended his post with this quote that I think might hold, it pulled at my heartstrings, and it might be a little emotional for some of us, but he said, "I'm dedicating the rest of my days to live the way you did, with grace, courage, and no regrets. Is this your king? Yes, he is. Rest in power, brother." Now, those are some pretty strong words. And the "is this your king" is a notable line that Jordan said in Black Panther, referring to T'Challa as they battled it out for who would be the next king of Wakanda. And now Jordan is claiming that he is. And for a lot of people, he truly is. As I said, he's become the symbol of royalty and power and heroism even before his death. Now, Letitia Wright, who played T'Challa's little sister Shuri in Black Panther, created a video tribute she posted on social media with spoken word by her of how she knew God had told her Boseman was her brother and she should love him as such. Man, these tributes really, really, really do. They really, really pull at your heartstrings, and they're really, really emotional. And you can just tell just what a kind of impact Boseman had on the lives that he touched, on the lives of his co-workers, on the lives of his co-stars, people he'd worked with in the industry in some capacity. These words will forever be remembered along with his legacy. and to just get a little snippet from those who got to know him a little bit more personally than the rest of us, though some of us would wish we could have. To hear these words coming from them really, really helps to, plant in our minds that there's so much power and strength that comes when you just give someone this opportunity, an opportunity to really live out their full purpose and full potential in this world. There are a lot of people who don't get that opportunity. There are a lot of people who get doors shut in their faces. There are a lot of people who can't make it past a certain point in their life. But to think of those who do get there, and they don't just squander the opportunity, they live up to it. They create their own lasting legacies, just as Boseman has done. It's amazing to see just how many lives can be touched. Frankly, I became a Marvel Universe fan because of Black Panther, because of T'Challa, because of the King of Wakanda. And a lot of people did too. I was like the lady in the video. I didn't think I was gonna go watch an action movie for what? I don't wanna see fictional stuff. It wasn't real. But this one felt real because of the little details that they put into it. From the costume, as I said, to the design, to everything, and to the fact that Boseman learned a whole new language in one day just so he could add more authenticity to his character, to really have him represent a true African king. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to represent Africa in that way, at least parts of it, the southern part, if you will, as close as a dialect from the southern part of Africa. He didn't have to do that, but he chose to. And the little bits of inspiration he sprinkled into that movie to really make it the masterpiece it is. And that is my personal opinion. Y'all can argue amongst yourselves about whether Black Panther really is a masterpiece. I think it is. And a lot of people would agree with me. I say all this to say that this man has left something behind that supersedes just even himself. This is an inspiration for new generations of creators, new generations of filmmakers, even actors, knowing that you can advocate for yourself, you can advocate for the work that you're doing to ensure that you are doing the best you can do. Now, I mentioned how he had received opportunities that some others may not as well receive, and that was from the help of a lot of notable Black actors in the industry. For one, while he was at Howard, he took a class with Felicia Rashad, which then also led to him going to Oxford for a summer theater program, which was paid for, by the way, by none other than Denzel Washington, because Felicia Rashad had called up her good pal Denzel and said, look, there's this man who's super talented, and I really want him to have this opportunity. Is there any way you can help out? And so Denzel Washington paid for Chadwick Boseman to go to Oxford and to study theater. He later found out about his benefactor, if you will, and in an award speech that Denzel was receiving the AFI Life Achievement Award in 2019, Boseman told the audience that it's not just because of me, but my whole cast, that generations stand on your shoulders, referring to Denzel Washington, that there would be no Black Panther without Denzel Washington. Look who was putting him up on this pedestal, who raised him up to be where he is today. That in itself speaks to just who he was, how seriously he took his art. For Felicia Rashad to call up Denzel Washington and put in her own personal word to have you go off to a summer theater program, that says a lot about who you are and the work that you're doing, Mr. Boseman. It's just amazing, and amazing to think that he still remained quite humble through all, through everyone seeing him as royalty and as a king. Like, even in that video, we saw how he related to all these fans, essentially fawning at him, if you will, telling him he's the best thing that's happened to them, best thing to see on screen. Still managed to make it personal, still be humble. Had Denzel Washington paying for him to go to Oxford for a summer, and was not big enough to stand up in front of a lot of his peers and people he looked up to and say that it was because of this man that I am where I am today. Not a lot of people can do that once they get to a certain level. It's easy to quote unquote let things get to your head, but he still paid respects to those who had helped him, those who came before him, just as the next generation will say it was Chadwick Boseman who inspired me to do this. That's an amazing legacy. I just want us all to let that just sink in for a little bit. This is what we know of him and what he's leaving behind with him, and that's just amazing. There's so much positivity and so much inspiration just in that alone. His life and his legacy really speaks volumes, and the fact that he was able to recognize that for himself is why I think he's so respected. That he was able to recognize that he did go through some hardships, but he persevered and he continued, and not without any help, that he did have help from certain people. That in itself deserves his respect. And on top of that, giving us all these roles, 4 years worth of roles. He did a lot in these 4 years, okay? Doing all of that while battling cancer, and nobody knew. Nobody knew. That's respect to him for that, respect. Now, in 2018, as I said, Boseman gave a commencement speech at Howard University, 18 years after he himself had graduated from the historically black college as well. Now, the speech since went viral for what he said about finding your purpose rather than a job or career. He said, quote, "Sometimes you need to get knocked down before you can really figure out what your fight is and how you need to fight it." Continuing on, saying, "Whatever you choose for a career path, remember, the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose." I'm going to say that again. The struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. He also went on to say that when I dared to challenge the system that would relegate us to victims and stereotypes with no clear historical backgrounds, no hopes or talents, when I questioned that method of portrayal, a different path opened up for me, the path to my destiny. Those are some powerful words. That we can't let the molds that have already been put in front of us dictate where we need to go in life. If we need to push past those, if we need to question them, then let it be. Because during this commencement speech, he spoke about a time that he lost a job because he spoke up. But as we know, as Ryan Coogler said, working with him on Black Panther, he didn't stop speaking up. He didn't stop advocating for what he felt would really help bring his art to life. And he continued. And look at that. He was respected, loved, and adored for what he advocated for. Till this day, even, till this point, he was advocating for Black lives everywhere, against police brutality as well, knowing what it means to be Black, young, and gifted, as he said in his speech, knowing that people may not give you the opportunity or the chance because of your skin tone, but knowing that fighting for your purpose is more important than what those people will say. It's more important than the doors they may be closed in front of you. It's more important than the no's you may receive. That fighting for your purpose, you will always find a way to lead yourself to where you need to go. Now, those words of his have since become a testament to his life and legacy. And when, in his speech, Boseman quoted Jeremiah 29:11, from the Bible, which states, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare, not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." He then challenged the graduating class, saying, "Hear me well on this day. You would rather find purpose than a job or career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. The struggles along the way, again, are only meant to shape you for your purpose." He then added that when God has something for you, it doesn't matter who stands against it. God will move someone who is holding you back away from a door and put someone there who will open it for you if it's meant for you. Now, one of the doors that almost closed in his face was the opportunity to go to Oxford because he couldn't afford it on his own. And guess what? A new door opened through Denzel Washington. Who knows where Chadwick Boseman may have ended up if he didn't make it to that Oxford summer theater program. But look where he ended up because he did. Because he knew of his purpose in this world and he followed through and he fought for it. And he made it to be known as a king now. Sometimes you really just need to take some time to just think about what it is that you've experienced and see how far you've come. Sometimes you need to stand on that hilltop to look around at what it is you've conquered, knowing that there's more ahead of you, but look at all that's behind you as well. That's what I'm taking away from this speech of his. That knowing your purpose can be more influential in your life than just a job or career, can be more fulfilling in your life than just one thing. That if you know that you are living in the purpose that you were destined to, that brought you to be here at this moment in time, at this moment in history, can really bring you a lot of peace. Now, as quoted at the beginning of Denzel Washington's The Equalizer, Mark Twain once said, there are two most important days in your life. The day you are born and the day you find out why. The day you find out why you are born. I'm just gonna let those words just linger with you for a little bit longer. The two most important days in your life, the day you are born and the day you find out why. So if you're gonna take anything from this show today, just take it from the words of the great Chadwick Boseman, that finding a purpose can mean more than just any job or career. That your purpose is essential to you and to who you are. It's something I think we could all carry with us. Not to have an existential crisis to why you're here on this earth, and it's not to bring any stress, but a source of motivation to keep going, keep fighting, because there is a reason, as Boseman said, we are all here at this moment in history. There's a reason we're all here on this planet at this point in time. Now, he has shown us what his purpose was, to show us that there's more out there for us, there's more out there for us to do, and that there's a space for us to do it, which also is just as important to know, that there is the space available to do what we need to do, what we want to do in this world. And he made his legacy not just from the roles he played, but for what they represented for his community and the world at large. What they will forever represent. Because they're not going anywhere. It's in film now. In fact, this past weekend, I've been watching a lot of his movies, a lot of the work that he's done. Rewatched Black Panther like twice already. I'm not going to say how, because we're not going to talk about that, but that's a legacy that's worth remembering. So today, we remember the legacy of Chadwick Boseman by continuing his challenge of finding our own purpose and living in it. I challenge the rest of you as well to do that. It's not easy, but I think we can see here from what we said about this man and who he was and what he's contributed, that it's worth it. That it's worth it to leave some kind of legacy behind where we feel we've fulfilled our purpose on this earth. And though we feel that he has gone too soon, way too soon, 43 is too young, he came what he needed to do. And he did that. He really did. So if anything, remember that that's part of his legacy, that he encourages us to live in our purpose, fight for our purpose, and continue to advocate for ourselves as well. Advocating for what we believe in, not just going with the flow because we think that that's the easiest way through it. It would have been easy for him to have just accepted that role and not spoken up for himself, not said that he feels that this is too much of a stereotype for him to be playing. He ultimately did lose that job, but then look what he went on to create. Look at the stories he was able to tell. He played James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, the Black Panther, historical roles. He was able to do that because he spoke up for himself and he lived in his purpose. And on that note, I'm going to leave you guys today with that, remembering the two most important days in your life as a person, the day you were born and the day you find out why. From Mark Twain. And to just remember the legacy of this man the man, the myth that was Chadwick Boseman. That concludes our show for today. As always, it was so nice chatting with you guys today. Thank you for joining me for this little tribute that we've had for someone who meant so much to our community. Now, as always, you can keep up with the GBKM network in various ways. You can now listen and watch live 24/7 at www.gbkm.fm or www.gbkm.tv. You can like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff on Facebook and YouTube at GBKM TV. Follow us on Twitter at GBKM_FM and Instagram at GBKMFM. You can follow me, your host, Elizabeth Aloyde, at TIS_Liz_O. And I look forward to chatting with you at the same time, same place next week. Take care.
Do you know who you are? What is your name?
Sometimes you wonder why and wonder how. Don't be alarmed, just stay calm, cause even if you choose or not to.
My child, recite the words of this ancient mythology. The wisdom I disperse in this verse, no apology. Memorized to keep you from evil theology. For you, the darker hue, you denied your equality. See, for generations we perpetrated psychology. Divide and conquer each other, really lynch policy. You cannot build each other up, how will you build economy?